Well, good afternoon. Welcome. How are you this fine Wednesday lunchtime? My name's Christine, and it's going to be my pleasure to take you through today's Google session where we're going to be talking about using social media for your business. Today, we're going to focus on helping you to develop a strategy and look at ways you can go about creating content for your business. So as I say, my name's Christine, and I'm one of the trainers on Google's long-term digital skills training program. I've worked as part of the Google Digital Garage for the last 10 years. In that time, we've looked at emails and websites, and social media came along. We're looking at AI now, constantly keeping us interested as small businesses because the world keeps changing around us. And that's what we're going to continue to do today. I'm a marketeer by trade. I've been working in marketing since before it was digital. And I work with charities and small businesses, as well as in my time, some much bigger companies. Today we're going to take a look and see where we are right now in 2026 and how social media might be able to help us. We do not do these things alone. So alongside me today, I have the wonderful Mohammed. Mohammed is in the chat right now. Some of you might even have met him. If you are watching me live at lunchtime on Wednesday and you're signed into your YouTube account, you should be able to see the chat. And in the chat, you'll find Mohammed. And Mohammed is here to answer your questions that are relevant to what we're talking about. He's going to post some links for you as we go through. And he's really experienced. And he's just going to say, he's going to keep everything moving and he's going to be really useful to you. So jump in the chat, just like Satak has done. Hi there. Jump in, say hello, let us know where you're joining us from, why you chose to join us today. And as we go through, I'm going to be asking you some questions as well. So it'd be really good to hear from you as we go through our time together today. So today is all about, as I say, helping small businesses to develop their social media presence. We're going to look at some of the platforms you can use. Although there's lots of platforms out there, it's much more about the thinking than the actual tools, because we're going to think about what your social media goals are, and we'll think about how to generate ideas and content. We are part of the Grow with Google program. And if you'd like to head to grow.google, then you will be able to see lots of other webinars, resources. Even if you're based here in the UK, there are live events that you can go to, face-to-face events. We are live this morning, but actual in-person physical events that we pop up around the country. So keep checking back on grow.google. You'll be able to see maybe some training, certified courses and things. We'll also, as we go through, we'll point you in the direction of things that we think would be useful. Also hope you've got with you pen and paper, or maybe a note-taking device that's different to the device you're watching me on, where you can take notes through. We're broadcasting to you live on YouTube this afternoon, but we also will keep this recording live for you for about 24 hours, till about lunchtime tomorrow. So if you use the URL you used to get to me today, you'll be able to come back and rewatch any sections you want. If we get to a part that you think, yep, that's it, that's what I need to know, jot down the time code and you'll be able to jump right back in there when you come back and watch us on repeat. And if you are watching us on repeat, hi there from people of the future. We hope you learn a lot as we go through, because today we're going to be talking about social media in your business. So we'll look at ways you can identify, to start with, how social media might be useful to your business. You can start to think about the platforms that you will want to use to connect with your customers. We'll look at how to go about crafting a social media strategy to match with your goals. Then we'll look at ways that you can actually create content, create text, create images, create video. We're going to be employing our new friend AI to help as our creative assistant. And that's going to help us. I'll show you some ways that you can go about creating consistent, high quality content using that collaboration with some of these AI tools as we go through. And One of the hardest things, I've mentioned it, it's one of the most exciting things about the times we live in, but also one of the hardest things is that, well, the world keeps changing. Social media changes and continues to change, and I can't see it stopping anytime soon. So I'm going to share some tips around keeping on top of what is working, and how to identify things that are changing so you can adapt your strategy. This isn't a one and done. This isn't right. This is what we're going to do for the rest of time. I really want you to be using a really open mind, exploring what it is you might want to be doing with social media. We'll look at how we can go about measuring things in order that you can keep an eye on what's going on. So there we go. That's what we're going to be looking at today. Just give a quick shout out. Oh, brilliant. We've got loads of people joining us now. It's great to have you all with us. We've got Bethany joining us, Gary, we've got Rabbi. Now, if I say your names wrong, I'm really sorry. Sometimes it's really hard to tell off just your YouTube handle, which is what we get there. We've got Vita. So good to have so many people with us. Jay Williams, love this. People from Ireland. We've got Alex, who's going to use it for business. Brilliant, effective journeys in sunny East London. In fact, actually, I'm up near Manchester and we are seeing the sun here as well today. Got Fisher Modua, we've got Hilda. Wow. Loads of people joining us from all the way, and the Kent coast, we've got Helen as well. Brilliant. I can see Mohammed's already asked you a question, which is going to prompt what we're going to be talking about your number one social platform. Because we quite often, most of us probably use social media for personal use. We're going to really be trying to focus in now on how to use it from a business perspective and understand where the biggest potential is for your business. So social media can be a great value to lots of different businesses out there. Research by BT found that over a quarter of small businesses in the UK now generate more of their sales from social media than from any other channel. And by any other channel, we're thinking e-commerce, so their website, or from their bricks and mortar stores. Okay, so for businesses, there is a real tangible sales opportunity to investigate here. Let me know, how does that feel to you? Where do you know where you're generating your sales from? Where are you getting your leads? If you're less of a retail business, more of a service business maybe, where are those leads coming from? Are you using social media? I'm guessing you're here because you'd like to improve the way you're doing it. Do you know yet what's coming in from where? Start jotting down some of these questions. You're not going to get all the answers in our time together today. But if you start to think about the questions you want to get the answers to, then hopefully that'll spark your own personal plan as we get through our session. So data from Ipsos. I love throwing these statistics up. We throw them up, lots of statistics about usage and personal usage of social media. And I love it when we have a mixed room of people and I can actually see people's faces, because we'll put up social media used for almost 2 hours a day on average by UK customers. So we've got lots of people. We've got a few people saying Instagram. So Bethany, Alex, Helen, effective journeys, YouTube. Yeah, social media on YouTube. So for Instagram or whatever platforms you're using, are we thinking here for you as a person or for you as a business? Because sometimes what we tend to do is think, right, I'm happy using Instagram. It's the platform I use. Therefore, that's where I'm going to take my business presence. We really want to be thinking, okay, if we're showing it ourselves, the average use of 2 hours per day. Now, I know my mum's not on there 2 hours a day scrolling away. So somebody somewhere is using her 2 hours up to get to that average. Mo's already asked, but what do you think? 2 hours a day, does that feel short to you? Does it feel like, how would I ever get to that amount of time? Or does it feel like, crikey, what are all these people doing when they're not on social? Okay, I love this from Bethany. Bethany spends more time than she'd like to admit. More time creating rather than computing. And 2 hours per day just keeping YouTube updated with some Facebook. Yeah, so you can see that, if we're going to, I always think, to put your minds at ease, if we're going to do it, it's worth doing it properly. Our consumers, the people we're trying to reach, are spending time potentially on social media. Okay, so social media has a huge potential to drive opportunity to businesses. We've got a mixture of businesses getting sales on socials. We've got consumers, customers, your potential audience hanging out for a couple of hours a day on their socials. If we can connect your business with the opportunity and the people, then there's a good chance, depending on what you're selling, depending on who your customers are, that, maybe it's building awareness that you need. Maybe you want to do something local, do something global, generate more sales, bring more people to your store, support your cause. Loads of different reasons that you might want to investigate whether social media is going to work for you. And social media can potentially help. So I want you to think back. And actually, so we're saying we're consumers, we might be using our different platforms. We're also businesses or causes or whatever we're trying to get. But I want you to think from a personal point of view now. Have you ever had a positive interaction online with a business? Because remember, you are somebody, some business somewhere, you're their ideal customer. No matter what it is you're into, there'll be a business out there who would love to connect with you. So there's a good chance you have interacted, engaged with businesses through social media. So I want you to think about any positive interactions that you've had with a business online. Maybe that was, they gave you great service. Maybe you left them a glowing review. Maybe they provided some information to you that made it easy to do whatever it was you were trying to do. Maybe you even purchased during a live stream. Have a think and maybe let me know, what happened, how it made you feel. Would a positive interaction online with a business make you more likely to use them, to recommend them in the future? Let Mohammed know. He'd love to hear what it is that's going on out there in the world, because it's really good before we set off doing. I want us to almost envisage what could happen. What if it all goes right? What could happen? And these positive interactions, we have a great service. It leads to a glowing review, which can then be amplified so other people see what it is we've got to sell, and we get bigger, we get more customers, we have a more successful business. I want you to imagine the positive, and that's what we might want to think about going about crafting for ourselves. So a few of the benefits. Firstly, social media lets you connect with customers in real time. Say you've got a personal training business, okay? If a customer tags you in their photos, in the post that shows their exercise plan, you can start to join the conversation, respond to their post, add your own wisdom, which then amplifies what you're doing to their connections as well. These days, you can scroll down to the comments section of almost any social post, and you'll find a brand or two chiming in. These outbound engagements, brands, when they comment on other people's posts, that's real marketing by real people. And they pick up steam. They're not just commenting on any old post, though. You find and strategically engage the kinds of content that's going to, amplify what it is you're doing. So we're not just commenting willy-nilly on everything. I want to be a bit strategic about it. Go about it with a plan. Look for places to talk, to join in a conversation that's relevant, a conversation that's, feels natural, feels authentic. As we go through all of this, Yes, we're a brand trying to sell to people, but it's got to feel authentic. Social media is about being sociable. If we come across too salesy, then, or too random, it needs to be authentic, it needs to be relevant to what's going on, and it needs to be in keeping with the tone, both of ourselves, but also of the platforms we're using. But joining the conversation can be a really cost-effective way of finding and engaging with communities that already exist. A fitness studio, for example, could comment on other fitness-related creator content. You can then share your knowledge and your insights. These are organic posts, so these are posts that we're not paying for. I hesitate to say free, because of course we're not paying for promotion or advertising, and they may be shared. But your time's not free. The cost of what else could I be doing isn't free. So, however, if we pick the right times and places to engage, we can start to build trust with a wider audience. We can show our credibility. And commenting on somebody else's post would have the benefit of making our business visible to their followers. You might post quality content on your own page, and that will help us to generate ongoing visibility and maybe stay top of mind for customers. Maybe there again, the personal trainer might want to be posting short videos of exercises that their followers could do at home, showing our credibility. We know our stuff. And hey, if you like what we're doing and you want to do more, you can get in touch and train with us yourself. There's also a huge rise at the minute in social commerce, and that's businesses generating revenue by treating those social platforms as sales channels. Maybe they're selling directly through product tags on Instagram or YouTube, or selling on live streams on apps like TikTok, Whatnot, or eBay Live. Lots of reasons you might want to get involved. Lots of tactics that we can use to build our strategy. So, it's probably a bit of a trick question, this. Which platforms are best for business? Well, which platforms are best for your business? Okay. Different social media platforms offer different opportunities to connect with different audiences. We'll flick through very quickly a few of the platforms that are out there, bearing in mind that what we're trying to do today is just understand the strengths and how they could align with different types of business goals. This is not a primer to use, to make, this isn't the last thing I would want from anybody going away from these sessions thinking, right, Christine says I have to go and set up accounts on all of these platforms. That's not what I'm after at all. I want to have a think of the different some of the different platforms are out there. If we were face to face, I'd give you a show of hands. We'd just quickly raise our hands. It says the question is, how many have your personal account? So we're not talking business right now. We're talking that personal account. How many of these platforms do you have a personal account on? So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn. How many of those? I'm actually at 4 of those. I'm a bit too old for TikTok. How about you? What's your numbers? How many of those platforms? Does anybody have the full house? And this is for your personal account. As I say, because we are thinking about what it might be like for a business, I wouldn't be reachable on a TikTok live, but I would be found on YouTube. Brilliant. Bethany, I thought you might, we've not long met, Bethany, but I have a feeling you might have been on all of them. Vita, all of them. Damon, all of them. 3 for Celine, brilliant. Lots of people saying 4 or 5 of them. Great. Rabbi, Sharon, 2, Facebook and Insta. Great. Helen, 4. I'm wondering if we've all got the same one. We're not. So we can see even in our not one bit scientific poll, loads of us have got accounts, personal accounts on multiple platforms. So Garamaya, and same as me, all but TikTok. Now, another interesting thing to think about for yourself, because if we think about it for ourselves, we can maybe start multiplying these things out. I wouldn't expect to be sold business things necessarily on my Instagram. So if I'm working as a marketeer, I might expect to find some things for my business on one platform, maybe LinkedIn, and then things for my family or whatever I'm doing personally on a different platform like Facebook. Okay. So it's not just thinking about which platforms you're on, how many. What do you expect to see on the different platforms? What do you go to the different? We've got multiple platforms for a reason. What are we expecting to do? What are we expecting to see? And how about for your business? How many of these platforms, and you might have to write the word business and then, because I know we'll be crossing over, but how many platforms do you have a business account for? Let Mohammed know and we'll keep going. Because there are different platforms, different reasons that people might want to be on them, different horses for courses, I think is a phrase we use quite often here in the UK. So things like Facebook, brilliant still. I mean, it feels like it's been around a very long time. And it's still good for building communities with certain, there's types of people, types of reasons that people use. Good for local, for special interest, good for running targeted ads as well. The amount of data that we put in, you can look at targeting people based on birthdays coming up, for example. Recently got engaged. We can see all these life stages that people put. And it's got really powerful ads tools to help people, help businesses to spend their money wisely with them, so you can break down age, location, interests. And it all is complicit with privacy regulation as well. So there's a lot of that has been thought out. It's worth making sure you understand your privacy implications, but we've got a lot. So you could use Facebook to build and engage a local community. Maybe you've got a cause that you're passionate about. Maybe you've got a local business or a local event that you want to bring people to. You can run targeted ad campaigns. You can host events. You can run promotions, lots more. A local fitness studio might use Facebook to create events for their yoga workshops and then promote membership discounts with targeted ads to get those eyeballs coming through to them. Instagram, linked to Facebook, and a quick, I've been saying this for years, just because it's easy to post your Facebook content on Instagram and your Instagram content on Facebook doesn't mean it's a great idea to do so, because people go to different platforms for different reasons. So if it's worth your business being on both, think about the different reasons. Instagram's all about visuals and videos. So if you've got compelling visual content, fashion brands, restaurants, interior designers, features like stories, those shorter temporary posts, and reels, which are those short form videos, can provide really engaging ways to connect with audiences. Think how you use Instagram if you do use Instagram. I will quite often just tap and watch the stories through. Imagine if somebody's following my brand or following my business, I can get into their feed, into their consciousness, by using the different types of features that are available. You can use Instagram if you can visually promote what it is you're doing. And you can also use it to connect with influencers. Maybe you're not building your own presence there. Maybe you want to connect with influencers who are already authentically inhabiting the target audience that you want to get into. Handmade jewelry shop. Maybe they're going to post reels of the process, the craft going in behind these products that they're making. Maybe they'll use their stories to showcase new design ideas. Maybe they'll use, the polls and the quizzes, which do you like, this one or this one, to get feedback and get their audience feeling engaged, that they're actually part of a real live crafting process. YouTube, we had a couple of shout outs for YouTube. It's a versatile video platform, both for longer form video content, your documentaries and your how-tos, but also short attention grabbing clips through YouTube Shorts. It really helps businesses to engage customers through visuals, through storytelling, and through trending content. It's also really, really sticky. So things posted on YouTube can be found for a long, long time if they are well-written descriptions, and if they are relevant to the searches that are being made. Remember, YouTube is the world's second largest search engine. You can share your brand stories, you can share customer testimonials, you can also, of course, create ads to reach broader audiences there too. TikTok, primarily short engaging videos. It's a powerful tool for brand storytelling, great for viral trends, great for behind the scenes content, and really good for connecting with those younger audiences. Brands getting involved, getting creative with challenges, trending sound. It's still got to be authentic. But businesses could use it to participate in viral trends and challenges, showing their more playful side, but being dynamic, but being authentic with your storytelling is really super important, A boutique candle shop could create a video, show creative ways to use their scented candles, great ways to dress them up and make them look pretty in their home decor, but then pair with a trending sound and get that bit more reach by bringing two themes there together. And finally, LinkedIn, incredibly helpful for B2B, which is business to business organizations, or if you're looking to recruit talent. It's not all about selling things. It might be bringing people in. Perfect for networking, learning, sharing industry insights, and also building brand authority. You could, if you're a service business, if you're a business to business kind of business, sharing your business insights, sharing your case studies, connecting with professionals. I love, it's quite an old fashioned thing, I guess, but, in a more strategic sell, when you're looking to identify a decision-making unit, LinkedIn is a genius tool. Okay, so we're looking for industrial widget manufacturers it could be anywhere, there's going to be somebody whose job it is to use the widget that we need to sell, somebody's job it is to pay for the widget we need. We can start to map out those interactions and work out the conversations we need to have. So it's not just about posting with LinkedIn, although you can use it to be discovered that way. It's also those building of genuine connections and giving people a reason to want to interact with you. All right, so that's the kind of why we might want to do this thing. And if I'd asked you at the beginning, the other question I could have asked you was, what's the hardest thing about social media? And I bet we would have got at least 80% of people saying thinking up things to say, the actual crafting of the content. Once we've got some good ideas, then it's the posting them and making them go out and then, measuring them at the end again. But we do know that creating content can be a real challenge, especially when we're busy doing our jobs. And lots of us won't have the luxury of somebody doing social media for us. And content creation is a challenge. It's even more challenging without a strategy. So before we get help with the actual doing and the thinking up of the ideas, let's think about how we go about planning and getting started. All right, so that's going to be our strategy. So here are some key questions. Jot these down or come back to about halfway through, to about 30 minutes in to our video, and you'll be able to, remember these questions, because I want you to be asking yourself these things. All right. Social media is going to take some of your time. If you're going to do it properly, if it's worth doing well. So you need to ask yourself why you are doing this, why you want to build a social presence for your business. Secondly, I want you to consider, what type of content is going to be best to help you to reach your goals. If you're a coffee shop, visual content showcasing your atmosphere, showing visuals of your products, showing how beautifully your baristas put the love into making those patterns on the top of your coffees, it's probably going to be much more relevant than factual text-based posts, which might be better if I've got a lot of facts to give over. And then I want you to really think, your third question is your off socials sales funnel. Okay, so how do people try your product? How do people learn about your service? What is it that they do next? Do we want to drive people to book a call with us? Do we want them to sign up for a newsletter? Do we want to bring them to our physical store? Depending on what we want them to do next is actually going to really help us to craft that strategy. So it's the so what. We can do all these beautiful pictures of coffee, but unless we tell them where we are, they're never going to be able to come and sample it for themselves. Social media platforms want users to stay on their platforms. So you need to make sure that you're, wherever you can, servicing the next steps, almost making it easy for people to do them within the platform that you're using. What you don't want to be doing is start trying to send traffic off their platform, because that's not something that they tend to like at all. So keep that in mind. How can we make people take an action without necessarily leaving the platform that we're in? Okay, so why am I building that social media presence? For the first question, the why, we're going to consider some common goals for businesses. Okay, most businesses end up with multiple goals for the social presence, but rather than trying to boil the ocean, do too much at once, a really good tactic is to start with just one. Okay, so lots of businesses are looking to simply increase brand awareness. They want as many relevant people as possible to see and to recognize their business, recognize their brand. A lot of the time, we almost have to, lay the foundations before we can start to build the house. So lots of businesses, no matter what they end up doing later on, the first thing we need to do is build a presence, build some awareness, so people even know that we exist. Okay. Now, some businesses are going to then want to jump straight to leads and sales. Okay. Maybe we're looking for those potential customers. And I would imagine that for most businesses, at some point down the road, whatever we do, whatever activity we do, is going to have to lead to an action of a sale or a lead. Doesn't mean that it's going to be the first thing we're looking to do on our socials. But it might be that we're looking to directly sell. If we've got quite a short sales cycle, it might be the case. Or it might be that we're looking to get people to pick up the phone, fill in our online lead form, somehow get that expression of interest. They've seen what we do. They like what we do. Let's see if we can make that happen. Okay. Community. Maybe it's important to create an engaged, loyal following. That local yoga studio we were thinking about before. By creating a sense of community, we can get people to think of us as valuable to them. They might invite their friends to do that. They might become our advocate. They might make suggestions of things we can do next. That yoga studio might be really useful in helping people get active. And then when people have a great experience, they go out and share that experience. Okay. It might be that we're looking to be a really quick, always on, responsive channel for questions, for support, for helping people learn more about us, make those decisions, but we're being interactive with it. And finally, another goal that might be important is to drive traffic to that website. Maybe that's about generating sales, awareness for upcoming events, giving information. A restaurant that encourages people to book online for their tables frees up the staff to be actually serving the tables when they get there. Okay. All right. So I want you to think for you. Jot down now, if you don't have goals already, or if you want to use today as an excuse, as a reason to refresh your strategy, think about that primary goal. If you could only do one thing, what's the most important thing to get right? If you are just starting out with this, what is it that you're going to do first? Okay. I'd love to hear, pop it in the chat, let Mohammed know. What goal are you going to choose to focus on? All right. have a think about it. Let us know. It's really good for intention setting here. This could help you to remind yourself to do these things when you're done. So make sure it's more important you jot it down for yourself. But once you've done that, if you want to let Mohammed know, that would be really cool too. So in the next section, we're going to take a look at creating content. But firstly, our strategy needs to think about the kinds of content we want to create. Common misconception is you need to create all of that content yourself, but creating original content is just one approach. So you could choose original content, but you might decide to find and repost and encourage user-generated content. This is content made by other users. If you've ever received a beautifully wrapped something from a small business with a little card on it that says tag us in your post, and then you've arranged it beautifully. Look what I've just bought from this gorgeous small business. You've taken your arty photo of it, how gorgeous it looks, and then you've posted it out tagging them in. That you have made user-generated content, and that is absolute gold for those small businesses that you've done it. So finding a way to, if we choose user-generated would be a good thing. Actually finding ways to encourage user-generated content is a really solid tactic if you've got the right kind of business. You might be a curator. You might be thinking, okay, I want my presence to be somewhere useful for people to come. So I'm going to curate and share other people's articles, other people's posts, news from other reputable sources. We're going to add value and position ourselves as a knowledgeable hub or a local community expert. Maybe we own a community garden centre. We want to support businesses around us, those other small businesses who are all trying to be useful to the same audience. So we'll share what's going on at the local cafe. We'll share what events are going on the sports fields, whatever it might be. You can also look at influencer. So working with influencers or other collaborators to create content about your business. It's really important that you are transparent when you're working with influencers, that's what you're doing, especially if we're getting into, it is advertising. It's going to be a paid relationship or an in-kind relationship. But bear in mind, influencers don't have to have millions of followers. There might be an influencer in your local community, in your particular niche. There are influencers with all audiences, all sizes in pretty much every niche. So go out, see what you can find, see what... I said social media is about being sociable, about being collaborative. You don't have to do it all yourself. So think of ways that are going to make it maybe a bit easier, maybe a bit more interesting. And you don't have to do this all on your own. I think it's really important. Okie dokie, let's put this into practice. Imagine you run a dog walking business, and I'm really sorry. The team insist on adding puns, which I do not believe we should be, but you are using social media. You want to use social media to generate leads. And you also want to increase your sales. Okay, so it's dead easy. When you've done a course like today, you're going to be buzzing with ideas, hopefully, to go and make 5 different posts straight away, post them all out, and then you're out of ideas. Okay, we see lots of that kind of all or nothing approach to social media. I want you to get away from that a little bit. So what we want to do today is think about a content calendar. We're going to look at creating a regular posting schedule, and then the sorts of things, the themes that we might want to, start talking about. We're going to take a look at the different types of content that we might want to create, and also the kinds of platforms that we might. And we want this to link through to a clear user journey. So from a sales perspective, when somebody sees our presence, what do we want them to do? Okay, sounds like a lot, right? Sounds like we need a whole marketing team. Well, step in our first demo. So I'm going to take a look at a tool called Gemini. Now, if you haven't seen Gemini before, what I'm going to ask Mo to do is probably, let's give some ideas of some of the other sessions that you might want to do. So Gemini is an AI assistant. All right. We have sessions about getting started with AI, and we also have one about using AI for marketing, which will bring you along. If you've never seen a tool like this before, then that's going to be a real help. Okie dokie. So what we need to do is jump into Gemini. Hopefully right now you will be able to see I have jumped into my social media assistant. Well, sorry, my AI assistant that's going to help me build a social media calendar. All right, so this is an AI assistant called Gemini. It can help us with a wide range of tasks, brainstorming, data analysis, research. I'm using Gemini in a web browser, but it's also available as an app on both Android and iOS. And for this demo, we're going to focus on how Gemini can help to develop our social media strategy, which is going to build on our knowledge of our customers and our business goals for social media. So what I'm going to do is run what's called a prompt. And we do also have a session on getting started with prompting. The prompt is our start point. This is our input into our AI tool that's going to helpfully get us an answer. And we've got lots. If this is the first time you've seen Gemini, strongly suggest you jump back into some of our other sessions. So what I'm going to say is we're giving our prompt. Our tool, we're asking Gemini to be a social media content strategist, creating a themed content calendar that aligns with seasonal information across the year. We want ideas that can be later developed into relevant posts on social media for my dog walking business called Happy Hounds. Our customers are working people. So if I were working with a marketing team, this is the kind of information about me, about my business, about my goals that it would need to know. Our social media goal is to generate leads, growing the number of clients we have booked in for dog walks. Now we want the content calendar to include 2 suggested platforms to target and ideas for visuals. And what the best tool for this is going to be a thing called Canvas. So this is going to give us a working document. All right, so I'm going to run it. And while that thinks of that, so we've said social media goal is to generate leads and grow the number of clients. And can you see what it did there? It started to think, and then it's moved and changed the window slightly. So if you've not seen Canvas before, if you are using Gemini or a similar AI assistant, we've got our kind of interactive part here, which has got our prompting area in it. I'm pointing at my screen, people. I'm waving my mouse as well. And on this side, it's actually started, on this right-hand side, it started to create the generated output. Okay, but what we can do is, so it's giving us a document that we could literally export straight away, except we shouldn't, because we haven't evaluated what it's come up with. We haven't iterated. At the minute, we're just taking an answer to a question without taking a look. So we want to update and adapt and then use this we could even create an application. All right, so here we've got, the goal is to generate leads by showcasing reliability, professional care, and happy hounds. We want to target busy working professionals and families with children. So Q1, we've asked it to give us our overarching themes. We're looking at the fresh start and the routine. Establishing routines after the holidays, handling the British weather. So January is walk your dog month. New year, new routine. We can start to see the ideas that we might start to wish. Now, what would normally happen with this is there'll be some of these that I love, that I think are brilliant, and there are all the bits which aren't quite right. It's about cherry picking. Canvas also provides the options to create different kinds. So if I come up here, based on that, we could decide to do a web page or an infographic, a quiz, flashcards, audio interview, depending on what you're doing. If I were using this to learn a new skill, flashcards or quizzes or audio overviews might be really helpful. You can, you might decide your own app would be some kind of internal working site if we've got a team to work together. You could also provide more detail about your goals, and then be a bit more specific. There are bits we like, there are bits we don't. All right. So, maybe it's the tone of voice we want it to use. We might want to provide more guidance. We can do this by writing and building together. We could make it shorter. We can make it longer. We can add comments. We can work collaboratively on this document as if we had somebody else. Have you ever shared a document with somebody and you've worked on it together, we're using Gemini as our somebody in this. Okay. For now, we might decide that we want to share and actually export that document to our docs and work on it as a document there, make edits as a team. But what we've got now is we've got some overarching themes with some ideas of the kinds of visual engagement we might for the whole of the year so far. Okay, and we've got some strategies, some user-generated content we've just been talking about. And then we're thinking here about education over sales. So lots of talking and less direct selling on this. Okay, so that's how we might come together. We could then ask it questions, develop things, and basically add more of what we like, take out things that we don't like. I'm going to leave Gemini there for just a moment and jump back on in to where we were, because we now want to think about content. So we've thought about why we're building our social media presence. We're clear on what platforms we might be wanting to use. Let's think about how. How are we going to think about that content? Lots of different contents that you probably have seen as you go. Different kinds of content depending on the chosen platform, your chosen audience, your chosen goals. Likely that you're going to make use of a mixture of different kinds of posts, whether they be text, whether they be video, whether they be images. Okay, but whatever type of content you choose to publish, you may want to use AI to help you. That's generating your ideas, helping you draft your writing, even, and we'll look at this, generating images and videos. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a look as we go through the kinds of content that you might, text-based content, let's start with that. So that could be updates, announcements, keeping customers up to date. And I think that was probably the original type of content that people used. You know, we are open on this day. Here are some things we want to tell you. Okay, we could flip that and ask questions or interactive polls. Here are some things we would love you to tell us. Okay, and actually things like, you know, if we're creating something, do we like this blue or that purple better? Which one should we choose? Can make it feel really engaging that our loyal customers are actually helping us to craft whatever it is we do. We could be looking for customer testimonials and reviews. We could use those in interesting ways to promote what other people have said about us. Might be listicles, top 10 items. I would always go for top 5 because I get bored by the end of the 8th, 9th and 10th. But you know, what are the top products you use? What are the top ways people might use your product? Lots and lots of brands are commenting on other people's posts, as we said, strategically engaging with other people's creator content as well. Okay. So AI tools can help you. One of the biggest challenges, though, is that AI-produced copy sounds AI-produced. All right. So trying to make it sound authentic and on brand is a real challenge and something that we should be looking to do. However, never, ever, ever just take whatever words your AI assistant suggests and plonking them out. Okay, we need to be a lot smarter about that. Ways we can do it, we can train our tools. You know, if we use the same tool, they start to learn our style and voice over time. But we can jumpstart that and actually supply style guides and say, here's my writing, help me write in my style. Maybe that's using our website. Maybe that's supplying the social content. If we supply references, reference site, reference documents, then we're actually helping to improve the accuracy of the information that the tool will then go on to help us create with. We might specify different formats, different lengths, different structures. Like I was saying before, we can make things shorter and longer. And it might be that if we're going to use AI image generators, that we upload specimen target types of brand approved visual elements to help that tool to understand more about the aesthetic we're going for. Okay. And what we can do is I'm actually going to show you how we can create a Gemini gem, which is like a pre-trained, we deliberately train our tool to act in the way we want it to do. We'll do that in a moment. Okie dokie. So We used Gemini a moment ago to create our social media strategy, the kind of overarching tools that we wanted to use. And we could have exported that to our Google document. And we said about training the AI. How we go about that in Gemini. Now, what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to start back at the beginning of Gemini. Clearing that off, just like turning it off and turning it on again, we've gone back to our blank page. Bear in mind, my blank page has been stretched out a bit. I've zoomed in to make it bigger so you can see, which is why it can look a bit crowded sometimes. But let's just check. You can definitely see my screen. Yes, you can. Excellent. If I expand this menu using these 3 lines here, I can either do a new chat. We can see some of the things I've done. And here we have a thing called gems. Okay. Now, gems are the area, and I'm going to collapse my menu again to give you a bit more space, a bit more to see. Gems are sets of instructions, okay? Sets of references, so that, you know, there are some that are pre-made. So you can see here there's a career guide. It's a pre-made gem that you might see in your Gemini to help you with your career guidance. One that's a brainstormer to help you find inspiration, a coding partner to help you get better at coding. These things have been built as examples. What I want us to do is create a new gem and create our own set of instructions for our own business. All right. So we want to have a copywriting social media assistant. So what are we going to call it? Let's call it our poor assistant, because remember, we are a Happy Hounds dog walking business. Okay. So then our gem is, we want it to be our copywriting social media assistant. All right. So we'll give it that as an, and then we need to give it some instructions. Okay. Now, what I have done, here's one I prepared earlier. We've got some quite detailed instructions. The more detailed we can be with the instructions, the more the tool is going to learn and behave in the way we want it to. You won't get to this straight off the top of your head, but you could use Gemini to help you. So here we are. We've got our core identity and purpose. We've got our brand voice. We've got who we are, how we behave, you know, and so we've also got in here, and I'm just going to copy it all. We've got 7 pages worth of do's and don'ts. We've got things we want it to, how we want it to behave. All right. I'm going to pop all that in there. Okay. So I've got my instructions there. They're very specific details about my business, and it's worth, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. Okay. You could write something more brief to start with and then have Gemini build on your work. There's this little button here, our rewrite instructions. We might have used it to do that. Okay. So we've got brand voice and we've got targets. We can also add in knowledge using additional files. Okay, so here I've already put together, using Gemini to help me, a brand and social media style guide and some tone and voice. These are, I said, examples of text we've used before. Here we've got some posts we've used before. So I'm going to bring both of those things in. Okay, we should be able to, let's give that a go. Where are we? Okay, there we are, using this knowledge area. All right, I'm going to add some, I'm going to bring them in from my drive, the brand and tone of voice. I've selected both of those, just as if I were bringing a document across from my filing system. Brilliant, it's got those examples. All right, and now we can see it. Now what I'm actually going to do is I would normally play with it a bit here and add some sample prompts. But because I'm in the building area and because I'm zoomed in, you can't actually see much. There's this much of the screen that might be this big on your screen. So let's save it, and then it'll give me the gem too. Brilliant. Okie dokie. So let's start chatting with it. And this is, once I've got it, this is what I will have. All right. So let's just say, let's create ourselves 10 posts for the coming days and weeks. And I can be that simple with my prompt because I've put so much detail into the gem itself. So I don't need to say, act as a social media assistant. Here are some references, because it knows that already. Okay, here's our poor assistant, our social media. I've been digging through the Happy Hounds social media guide and tone and voice examples, and then making sure these are awesome. Here are some, and it's telling us for Facebook and Instagram, you know, are you juggling back-to-back meetings and feeling those puppy dog guides? And we can start to see It's got calls to action. It's got the hashtags it wants us to use. It's got a TikTok script. It's got different ways that we might, we're not using a detailed prompt framework because of all of that stuff is already in there. It's referenced our content calendar. It's referenced our style guide. It's helping us. By now we've got those posts that we can go ahead and create. It cites the sources throughout. So when we see these little linky things here, this is where it's pulling that piece of information that it's used to make its suggestion. So we've got lots of draft posts now for the coming weeks. That's the text covered. But we've also seen some suggested images. So we can look at images as well. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So different kinds, it might be single photos. Social media has become a lot more visual over time. Started with photos with people's faces on them because that's what people like. We've got loads of photos, lots of different ways we can treat our photos or video. You know, we're actually looking at just single images here, multiple images, static images is what I'm looking, but also memes, quote graphics, you know, so we might use those lovely reviews we've had and make quotes of them. Okay. All of these images you can see are generated by a single prompt in Gemini. Authenticity is really important on social media. Real life photos of businesses are fantastic. Sometimes, though, you might have an idea that's difficult to visualize, or you want to create an image of something that would be impossible in real life. And to be honest, with our dog walking business, we might not have permission or want to show images of the dogs that we're walking because that's, you know, that might not feel like it's a safe thing to do. Always declare if you use AI generated images in your social media and make sure it's aligning with your brand. But I want to very, very quickly show you how you might go about doing that. Okay. So let's jump back into a fresh window of Gemini, just like we did before. Oh, we're still in our gem. Start again with a new chat. There we go. Hi, Dasha. And I just want to, this is a very quick prompt just to show you the power. Generate a high quality photorealistic image of a happy, relaxed cockapoo curled up, sleeping soundly at home with a beloved toy. And it's using Nano Banana, which is Gemini's image generation. And incredibly quickly, it's come up with this. I'd love to know what you hear of that, think of that in the chat. A happy, relaxed cockapoo curled up, sleeping soundly at home. Okay. Using the right way, generated images are a great part of your social content strategy. Make sure you consider your use cases and be specific with your prompts, and make sure you're reviewing your outputs for bias or hallucinations, more of which in our sessions on getting started with AI. And finally, we might think about video content. Okay, live streams, days in the life, behind the scenes, tips and tricks, lots of engaging content available. And I wanted to show you AI can even generate video for you now. This is Gemini's VO3 model.
Well, first of all, tea offers a wonderful variety of flavors, far more than coffee, I'd say.
And this is just a fun video that a local coffee shop could use to generate engagement, pitting tea against coffee. Right then, my friends, that kind of brings us to our time together has coming to an end. Let me just check. You are definitely still streaming. I think fantastic. There's so much to talk about. Spoken about a lot today. It's about going about now and putting your skills into practice. So I just want to take a quick moment for you to recap everything you've learned. Remember, we've thought about the platforms you're going to use. We've talked about creating and setting your strategy. We've looked at the kind of content you want. And don't forget that it's really important to measure that impact by reviewing relevant metrics to making sure we're linking back to those strategies and we're thinking about our goals. And that, my friends, brings us right to the end of our time together. Mo has posted as we have gone through. I hope it's a helpful look for you, looking at the kinds of social media platforms, considering your strategy for posting as a small business, and helping you to measure your content and think about whatever it is you're doing. looking at ways you can go about being more creative, getting more done. Because don't forget, none of this is free. It all takes up your time, your love, your energy. But yeah, so thank you very much for joining us for today's Google Digital Garage session. I hope you've enjoyed it. Great to see Damon loving his... great to see Gemini working and wishing luck to everyone. Yeah, that's great. Increase your brand in the social media space, Alex. It's been our absolute joy to spend our time with you today. So from Mohammed and myself, we look forward to seeing you on another Go with Google session sometime soon. Have a great day.